Hello all, welcome to today's session. Today we will be discussing about the changes that has been made in this year's budget, which was presented by our finance minister, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, on 1st of February 2023. My name is Saikat Roy and I have been part of CLEAR for last 4.5 years. Now, in this budget, there has been some key changes made which are going to impact the normal salaried people. Now, most of this change, or rather, all of this change has been made in the new tax regime. The purpose of all these changes were to make the new tax regime much more attractive as compared to last few years. Now, in our filing, what we have seen is that the old, as compared to the old tax regime, the new tax regime was not attractive because there are a lot of deductions and exemptions available under the old tax regime. Even though under the new tax regime, slabs were much more closely stacked together and the rate jump of taxes are much more smaller. Even though despite that, the new tax regime was losing its ground against old tax regime. Now, in this budget, the aim was to remedy this situation. And after the budget was presented, finance minister has mentioned that now she expect to see a jump in the new tax regime filing. Furthermore, in this budget, there has been some changes made in presumptive tax payers for presumptive taxpayers. There has been some cuttle on long-term capital gains, and there are some other areas which has been affected by this year's budget. Now, let's talk about the big changes under the new tax regime. Now, next new tax regime now is made the default tax regime. Now, what does it mean? The new tax regime is default tax regime. That means if you do not opt specifically the old tax regime, your income tax computation and tax withheld shall be done under the new tax regime. Till last year, the default tax regime was the old tax regime. If you wanted to get taxed under the new tax regime, you were supposed to select the new tax regime. However, from this year onwards, since the role has been reversed, you need to select the new old tax regime as your choice tax regime. Now, there are a couple of things to remember because in the coming month, that is in the month of April, the financial year will start and you are supposed to select the tax regime and you are supposed to declare all the investment that you are going to do during the year. Now, since the old tax regime is still relevant today, you can simply select old tax regime if you want to be taxed under it. Along with that, you need to submit all the supplementary documents so that the tax computation can be done and tax withhold can be done appropriately. Now, under the old tax regime, the HRA benefit, the LTA benefit, the 80C deductions, home loan interest, all those benefits are still available. But under the new tax regime, none of these deductions are available. However, the rate is slightly lesser than that, or because there is rate jump, a small increment of rate jump, and slabs are closely stacked together. Second big change that has been done under the new tax regime is now the standard deduction of 50,000 rupees has been included, extended in the new tax regime. Till last year, standard deduction was only available under the old tax regime. Standard deduction means that from your salary, in lieu of conveyance allowance and medical allowance, a straight away deduction of 50,000 rupees were given to you. Now, this standard deduction benefit has been extended in the new tax regime as well. The third big change that has been done under the new tax regime is the slab rates has been increased to make the new tax regime much more lucrative. Now, till last year, the rate of tax was 5%, 10%, 15%, 25%, or 30% on every increment of income of 2.5 lakh rupees. Now the rate change will happen at the rate of 5%, but the will be changing uh, once you receive more than 3 lakh rupees, right? Instead of 2.5 lakh rupees, now it has been extended to 3 lakh rupees. Therefore, now new slab rate stands if your income is 0 to 3 lakh rupees. In that slab, the rate of tax will be nil. From 3 lakh to 6 lakh rupees of earning, in that slab, the rate of tax will be 5%. From 6 lakh to 9 lakh rupees of slab, the rate of tax will be 10%. From 9 lakh to 12 lakh rupees of slab, the rate of tax will be 15%. From 12 to 15 lakhs of slab, the rate of tax will be 20%. And beyond 15 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 30%. Now, here one point needs to be remembered. In the previous new tax regime, the older new tax regime, there was a rate of tax of 25%. Now that 25% rate has been completely done away with. Thirdly, the rebate limit for 87A has been increased from 5 lakh rupees to 7 lakh rupees, and the rebate amount has also been increased from 12,500 rupees to 25,000 rupees. Now, what does it mean? If you remember, under the old new tax regime, if your income was no more than 5 lakh rupees, you are not supposed to pay any taxes. The tax computation would have been done, but the entire amount of tax that was computed was given to you as rebate. That rebate was given to you under section 87A. Now this rebate has been increased from 12,500 rupees to 25,000 rupees, and the income has been increased from 5 lakh rupees to 7 lakh rupees. Now, if we try to plot it uh, from, let's go back to the previous slide for a little bit. From 3 lakh rupees to 6 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 5%, right? Now let's assume my taxes, or rather my income is coming to 7 lakh rupees after standard deduction. So how the tax calculation will happen under the new tax regime now? From 0 to 3 lakh rupees, there will be no taxes. From 3 to 6 lakh rupees, there will be 5% of taxes. So there is an income of 3 lakh rupees on which I need to be computing 5% of tax, which will give me a tax of 15,000 rupees. From 6 lakh to 7 lakh rupees, the income increases by 1 lakh rupees. On that 1 lakh rupees of income, I need to pay tax at the rate of 10%, which will give me a tax of 10,000 rupees, right? So in previous slab, I have computed the tax to be 15,000 rupees, and the second slab, my tax computation is coming to 10,000 rupees. So all in all, the tax is coming to 25,000 rupees. Now, if my income is not crossing 7 lakh rupees and I am opting for new tax regime, in that case, the entire amount of tax computed will be waived off by the way of giving me a tax rebate under 87A, which is again coming to 25,000 rupees. And finally, the higher surcharge rate was reduced from 37% to 25% under the new tax regime. Now, as we all know, there are multiple surcharge rate attracted on every increase of income. and these are specifically targeted towards HNIs. Now, if your income is more than 50 lakh rupees, the surcharge rate is 10%. If it is more than 1 CR to 2 CR, it is 15%. From 2 to 5 CR, it is 25%, and more than 5 CR, the surcharge rate was 37%. Now, under the new tax regime, this 37% of surcharge rate has been completely done away with. Now, the highest surcharge rate under the new tax regime is only 25%. Now, over here, we are going to take a look whether the new tax regime is beneficial for me or not. Now, we have taken a salary earning of 16 lakh rupees, and we are going to look at the new tax regime pre-budget and post-budget and how the computation can be done under the tax regime. Now, out of this 16 lakh rupees, firstly, we are going to reduce the standard deduction, right? Under the old tax regime, it is still available. Under the new tax regime, pre-budget, it's not there. But under the post-budget change, 50,000 standard deduction is there. So, the after standard deduction, my salary is coming to 15 lakh 50,000 rupees under the old tax regime and the new tax regime post budget. Now we are assuming that the person in question has taken a home loan for which is paying a interest. Now, since this property is a self-occupied property, that means the person is staying in that property, maximum amount of deduction that can be claimed under Section 24B is 2 lakh rupees. Now, this 2 lakh rupees benefit is not available under the new tax regime, neither pre-budget nor post-budget. It is still available under the old tax regime. So, I will straight away deduct 2 lakh rupees from 15 lakh 50,000 rupees. Now, it will give me 13 lakh 50,000 rupees of income. Then we need to move on to the other deduction section. Those are 80C, 80C, CD, 80D, those sections. Now, under the old tax regime, maximum 80C deduction I can claim is 1,50,000 rupees. So from 13,50,000 rupees, I will be reducing that. 80D, let's assume that I am paying for myself and my parents as well. And maximum amount I can claim is 25,000 rupees for each of the cases. So assuming I am taking the entire benefit, 50,000 rupees I will be reducing. And finally, I am contributing towards national pension scheme on my own. I will again take a deduction of 50,000 rupees. Now, this 80C, 80D, etc., these deductions are still not available under the new tax regime, either pre-budget or post-budget. So, after all these deductions, my income is coming to 11 lakh rupees under the old tax regime, and under the new tax regime, which is pre-budget, it's coming to 16 lakhs. Under the new tax regime, post-budget, it is coming to 15 lakh 50,000 rupees. Now, I am assuming over here that I am contributing to NPS through my employer as well. Now, if we are contributing towards NPS through our employer, we can still get additional deduction of 10% of my basic salary. Now, again, we are going with a token figure of 50,000, which will be made applicable under all the regimes, the old tax regime, pre-budget, and the post-budget new tax regime. Now, after reducing that, my taxable income under old tax regime is coming to 10 lakh 50,000 rupees. Pre-budget new tax regime, it is coming to 15 lakh 50,000 rupees. And post-budget new tax regime, it is coming to 15 lakh rupees. Now, at this point of time, we have reached at the taxable income computation. Now, let's see how the tax computation actually play out. Right? So, the old tax regime, the limit is still 0 to 2.5 lakh rupees, 2 lakh 5 to 5 lakh rupees, 5 to 10, and beyond that. Now, so my income under the old tax regime is coming to 10 lakh 50,000 rupees. So from 0 to 2.5 lakh rupees, there will be nil rate of taxes, which will give me zero tax. From 2,50,000 to 5 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 5%, which will give me a tax of 12,500 rupees. From 5 lakh to 10 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 20%, which will give me a tax of 1 lakh. And beyond that, the income is only 50,000 rupees, and on that, I need to pay tax at the rate of 15%, which will make 15,000 rupees. All in all, my total income tax will be coming to 1,27,500 rupees. On that amount, we need to add 4% of health and education cess, which will be 5,100 rupees. And totally, my tax liability will be 1,32,600 rupees. Now, new tax regime, which is after budget, let's see how the situation is there. Or rather, we can take a look at the new tax regime pre-budget. Now, under the new tax regime pre-budget, from 0 to 2 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 5%. From 2.5 to 5 lakh rupees, it is 5. From 5 to 7.5, it is 10%. 7.5 to 10 lakhs, it is 15%, so on and so forth. Now, if we go down that route, we will see my total tax is coming to 2,02,500 rupees, right? Every increase of 2,50,000 rupees of income, there is a rate of tax increase of 5%, right? So my income is coming to 15,50,000 rupees, and thereby my total tax is coming to 2,02,500 rupees. On top of that, I need to add health and education cess, which will be 4% of the tax amount, and it will be 8,100 rupees. So total tax liability will be coming to 2,10,000 rupees. Now, as compared to the old tax regime, we can see the gap is very, very, very large. Almost 80,000 rupees of gap is present there. Now, the new tax regime, after the changes, let's see how the tax situation changes. Now, from 0 to 3 lakh rupees, there is no tax. The rate of tax is 0. From 3 lakh rupees to 6 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 5%, which will give me a tax of 15,000 rupees. From 6 lakh rupees to 9 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 10%, which will give me a tax of 30,000 rupees. From 9 lakh to 12 lakh rupees, the rate of tax is 15%, which will give me a tax of 45,000 rupees. From 12 to 15 lakh rupees of income, the rate of tax is 20%, and it will give me tax of 60,000 rupees. And remaining amount, it will be taxed at 30%, so it will give me 15,000 rupees of taxation. Now, total income tax will be coming to 1,65,000 rupees, and on top of that, I need to add health and education cess of 4%, which will push my total tax liability to 1,71,000 rupees. Now, if we see the gap between the new tax regime and old tax regime is still there, but it is not as much as it used to be. Now, the tax saving after the budget is only, or rather, 40,000 rupees. Now, what does it mean, or how this can be beneficial? If any person is staying in his own home and working, or a person who has just started their career and has not made any sort of investment, in those specific cases, the new tax regime is much more beneficial. Furthermore, what we need to see now, after the change has been made, there are another couple of angles we need to think. Now, under the old tax regime, the benefit of tax deduction was given to us so that we can save the taxes, right? People got used to the thinking that I need to invest so that my tax can be saved, and it's a trend. It's a understood fact that if we are investing in tax saving instrument, excuse me, if we are investing in tax saving instrument, the return from that investments are comparatively less than the other investment. Now, since the new tax regime has been made much more attractive, or rather much more competitive, we need to think about tax saving from another perspective. We need to think about another angle, that is wealth creation. Now, since no deduction is available for me, no deduction is available for me, and I am not obligated to make investment in tax saving instrument, I can straight away go for wealth building instrument instead. And usually those instruments are quite high in giving yields. Therefore, if we are considering which tax regime is beneficial for me, we need to think about this angle as well. However, one point again will be there, from the wealth building instrument, whatever returns we are getting, that can fall under the ambit of taxes as well. Therefore, we need to really put in our thinking hat and consider this fact that after the change made in the new tax regime, I can invest, or rather, we can invest into any other instrument which will give me a good amount of return, and on that return, I need to pay some amount of taxes as well. So, whether I will be a better position in the new tax regime or the old tax regime, this answer became much more uh, much more interesting and much more nuanced, I would say. uh, Pre-budget, the new tax regime and the old tax regime, the answer was pretty much straightforward. If you have many investment, and it will be able to reduce your taxable income to a considerable margin, by a considerable margin, so you can stick with the old tax regime. Now, however, the situation has changed. Now we also have to think about if we need to invest in any other tax saving instrument or any other wealth building instrument. Now, since this situation has been much more nuanced, now we really have to think hard about selecting the regime. Now, the benefit for presumptive taxation. Now, benefit for presumptive taxation has been introduced in this budget. Previously, the limit was there on presumptive taxation. It was 2 CR for businesses, and professionals it was 50 lakh rupees. However, the change has been made. The limit has been increased from 2 CR to 3 CR for businesses, and from 50 lakh rupees to 75 lakh rupees for professionals, provided uh, their cash receipts are no more than 5% of total receipt. In that case, they can opt for a higher amount of turnover figure, and there will be many more people who can opt into presumptive taxation and declare profit at a certain percentage. Now, this budget also sought to put a cap on tax saving on long term capital gains. Now, the long term capital gains uh, can could have been saved by investing in another house property, right? In house property. Those sections were section 54 and 54F. Now, under section 54, if you are selling of a house property and purchasing another house property using the gain amount, then subject to amount of investment, the entire gain could have been exempted from taxes. If you are investing the entire gain amount in purchasing of a house property, then the entire gain could have been outside the ambit of taxes. And if you are investing the entire sale proceeds to acquire a house, if you are not selling of a house, if you are selling any RSUs or shares or something like that, you could have gone ahead and invested the entire sum of sale proceeds to purchase a house property, so that your capital gains could have been exempted. Now, however, the limit of such investment have been curtailed down to 10 CR. Now, if your gain is more than 10 CR, then you need to pay the taxes on the amount which is in excess of 10 CR. If it is below 10 CR, then absolutely fine. There still is no tax implication. But if the gain amount is more than 10 CR,
then beyond any amount which received is beyond 10 CR will be taxed in your hand. Thirdly, the TDS on online gaming. Now, uh, as of now, many of us are partaking in online gaming tournaments. Right, we are partaking many fantasy leagues. We are partaking any e-gaming tournament. We are taking part now. Till this year, till this year's budget, if you are getting the money, prize money out of these online gaming tournaments, your income was subjected to TDS in case the amount was more than 10%, sorry, 10,000 rupees, right? If you have received a prize winning of more than 10,000 rupees, your earning would have been subjected to TDS. However, from this year onwards, the limit on that threshold has been withdrawn. So even if you are earning 1000 rupees or 2000 rupees, the entire earning will be subjected to TDS at the rate of 30%. Excuse me. Now, there are certain other changes which may impact you. Firstly, uh, there are many cases wherein it has been seen that people are claiming deduction under Section 24, the home loan interest prepayment, and at the time of selling of that house property, they are including the interest payment as cost of acquisition, the purchase price of that house property. So this was a loophole in the act. This was a oversight in the act. Now, in this year's budget, that oversight has been cured. Now, the law stands if you have taken a deduction under Section 24, that is, you have claimed a deduction for home loan interest repayment, then that amount cannot be included in cost of acquisition or cost of improvement of the house property at the time of its selling. And another change has been made, that is, in case market linked debenture are being sold, irrespective of their holding period, they will be treated as short term capital gains and accordingly they will be taxed. Now we are at the end of our session. Now we are going to answer if you have any questions. Please drop the question if you have any. Right. We are going to wait for another couple of minutes. If no questions are coming up, we are going to end the session. Right. So since no questions are coming up, I assume we had undertaken this entire enterprise by understanding the concepts. Thank you for joining with us. Have a great day. Have a great weekend.